and then I'll introduce you both.
And then, so while it's counting down, is that when we can share the link?
No,
No, not yet. Okay.
I'll tell you
Good.
when. Well, hello, everybody. The link will be available in a minute. Hello, everybody. How's everything going? And welcome to Discussing the Patches right here live on HamiltonRadio.net and, of course, all these other channels. We have our co-host, Ann Ziegenhorn, and also our guest coming on. Oh, and we just lost you. Oh, my God. So, Cecily Henderson, Ann's going to come back. So, here it comes Ann. Sorry, Ann. I don't know what happened. I'll bring you right back in. Take it away from here. Go ahead.
Woo-hoo! Hello, everyone.
Welcome, everybody.
I am Ann Ziegenhorn, and welcome to our show. Lillian is still in Spain, so she is not here this evening, but she will be soon. So I have several of my friends joining. Right now, Cecily Henderson is on, and she is part of a wonderful nonprofit organization that is assisting women with different types of illnesses, but we focus a lot on breast implant illness because each one of us that will be on tonight has had breast implant illness. And so we are bringing everybody aboard, and we want to talk about Hope for Healing soon. What I would like to do is, Cecily, if you can see the link and you can share it out, and then I'll let you start talking and I'll share it out as well. And that way we can get people on. So right this moment, we're just doing a minute or two of chit chat, nothing major, because we're going to start sharing the link out so that our audience can start building.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Ann, because the more we can spread this information, I think the better.
Yes, absolutely. And if you are on already, if you want to tell us where you're from in the chat, Doc G is really good about monitoring here and there. He's got other things to do while we have our show, but he does monitor it.
That's an understatement, Ann. Really, that's an understatement.
He just has a few things to do, just a few. Okay. All right. And Cecily, will you introduce yourself and everything that you do, because you have a wide, vast knowledge and are in so many organizations and groups on Facebook that bring awareness to everyone's health and their well-being and trying to do integrative and holistic healing. So if you'll go ahead and talk about that, I appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks, Ann. I appreciate you. And thank you again for having me on, because like I said, the more that we can spread awareness, I think the better off we are at, this complicated problem of breast implant illness. And so my name is Cecily Henderson. I'm a certified holistic health practitioner. I have been doing this for a little while, and I've noticed that people just don't have really good information to, utilize what I call functional medicine, utilize holistic healing. And so I'm like, well, it's time to get the word out there. I want to spread that word. And so I developed a group on Facebook. It hasn't even been a year, and I have 6,400 members. And we are just trying to share as much holistic healing, emotional, physical, spiritual healing as possible, because like Ann has a story. I have a story as well. I had breast implant illness for 14 years. I ended up paralyzed from a breast implant rupture, and I couldn't walk. The doctors didn't know what was wrong. They had no idea. And so I decided to bring it on myself to figure out how to heal. And so I went back to school for about 12 years, became a holistic health practitioner. And now I'm helping people heal, because sometimes, our poor doctors, they just aren't trained in holistic medicine. And so that's why I decided to step up. Now I'm getting across almost 100,000 members on Facebook between the different groups that I connect with, just getting that message out of healing, that you can heal, that you can have that hope to have healing and to find those answers. So it's really a good, powerful message. And I'm so grateful, Anne, for you to be a part of this. Now, I'm not sure. I guess we lost Anne there for a second.
Yeah, I think what happened was she froze and then her audio went out. But yeah, that's good that you're doing it, Cicely.
Thank you. And I appreciate what you're doing to give us that platform to spread the word, because we don't always have a platform. And so people like you that are giving this opportunity, you're also involved, also with us. So thank you, Doc. I appreciate it.
Oh, that's my pleasure. Again, I'm all about holistic healing and all about health, and anything I can get the information out, that's what I'll do. Ann knows that.
Yes, he is all about it, and he is also using the patches. Okay, so it looks like Lisa's saying she doesn't have the link, but I've texted it to her multiple times. Cecily, could you email her that real quick? I did email it to her earlier, but maybe she's looking, maybe I had a different email address than what she's expecting. Thank you. So Doc, how's everything going with you and wearing the patches?
Good. I've been putting the one in the back, the 39. I used the 49. I used some of the other ones. I just got the patches in today.
Good.
Hopefully I'll start using the newer ones. I just don't know what they all are for. I have to do research in all of them.
No, you don't. All you do is you say something like that to me, and what do? Is I send you a video that tells you what every patch does.
Then please do that.
I can do that. That's all you got to say.
Okay. I feel lost when it comes to all the patches.
Yeah, and so when I'm traveling down the road and I'm behind the wheel and I can't focus and read something myself, I listen to the audios. So I play it while I'm traveling because it just makes sense and it just gets in my head, and then I can start reverberating everything. It just comes out real naturally for us. But yeah, and then now, Cecily, I know that with your sensory issues, you tried in the past and it was just overwhelming at first. And I know that you were going to try to stick it on your clothing because I said it's a two-way patch. It doesn't matter if it sticks to your skin or your clothes. Have you been able to put any on your clothes yet?
I put it around the belly area, had no problem. Yeah.
No Wonderful. Problem. That's great.
And I love that you're bringing this up because, people that are sensitive, because I had a neurological condition, so I'm very sensitive to things. Now you know that there is a way for people like me who have sensitivities that can utilize the patch as well. And I think it's amazing.
Yeah, that is. So we had a lady who ended up making a pendant, and then she would stick it on the inside of the pendant and then wear the pendant. And that worked for her. When Dr. Harmon told us that he had he says, I'm typically allergic to adhesives. And even though I don't think I'm reacting to this adhesive, I just prefer to wear it on my clothing instead. So even one of our doctors is wearing it on his clothing instead. And it's interesting because he had some hair loss and gray hair, and his hair is dark and full. It just started coming back. Now, Dr. G, it looks like his hair's come back fuller. It's still white, but it's full. I was like, golly, he's got some thick hair.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, as ladies, I think we're always worried about our hair, right? So being able to have something, because we try I've tried so many things to thicken that up. I had cancer twice. I had radiation, breast implant, all of that affects, thyroid disorder. So being able to have something that is non-invasive is really nice. Definitely.
So, and I know we're just patiently waiting for Lisa and Tara. Tara said it would be closer to 6:15 before she hopped on. And then Lisa, I believe, is trying to get on right now. So she'll be on any moment. And I look forward for us to dive in deeper with what Hope for Healing's doing and all the avenues and work that's being done. And, we've also teamed up with my nonprofit, the Implant Truth Survivors Committee. And so, we all have some very aligned goals, is what I would like to say. I think we're very aligned in what we want to do. And then I also had Dr. Chandler he is going to plan to come on one night. And so he had some things going on tonight, so he's not able to make it tonight, but he is planning on coming on the show. So I'm excited about that. And that's one of our explant experts up in the area where I live. You know, we have several doctors throughout the country. When I got explanted, we had about 5 to 7. And now it seems like we have well over, I'd say 75 to maybe even 100 that do the proper explant procedure now and give informed consent. And many of them are turning over to doing explants only, because once they watch the women get better, they don't want to put them in anymore. And that's one thing that Dr. Chandler has just done. He has switched his practice over to explants, and he's not putting them in anymore. He didn't want to put them in to begin with. Matter of fact, for years he did his practice as well as taught at a university and never put them in. He did the deep flat. So he would take women from mastectomy and give them, use their muscle in their stomach and their body fat and do the fat transfer. So he's also a microsurgeon because he has to be very fine and detailed when he's doing the deep flat routines and getting all those nerves reconducted. But that's he's an artist when it comes to reconstructing the woman's body. So he loves doing liposuction, abdominoplasty, and then the explants, and then fat transfer for the explant women who wish to have fuller breast.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I would love to talk a little bit about that, because I have a lot of women that are really, they're really nervous or worried about taking out their implants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's been a part of them for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had 2 fat transfers done, and I'm very happy. I didn't have any complications. You know, when you utilize functional medicine, you utilize, I'm sure, you know, with the stem cells or what the patches, all of these things that get your body naturally healing. Yeah. You can do that. I mean, it's been the best decision for me because I still feel whole. Not every woman is a fat transfer. That's an option for them, but I don't want women to be afraid, because mm-hmm. I would take this over being paralyzed any day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So with fat transfer, women can, you know, let the surgeon know what size they'd like to be. They're not going to get a D cup. If they're an A cup, fat transfer is not going to do that for you. But what it can do is give you a fuller breast than what you have. They can reconstruct you. They can do a breast lift and then fat transfer. And you obviously have to have your fat. You have to have some fat. And so the doctors tell you about some for the women who got really super skinny with their breast implants. Some of them, what we do is we just tell them, look, you get your explant, get healthy again, and then once we get a little bit of weight on you, then we can go back and put the fat transfer in. So you don't have to do it at the same time. You can totally do it as separate. And that's just similar to what the mastectomy women are. You know, they have to go get the mastectomy if that's their choice to do that. And then if they choose not to be flat closure and they want to get some fat transfer, well, they're going to have to heal, and then they can start adding the fat in after their body is healed from the cancer and everything.
Yeah, beautiful, Anne. I really appreciate you spreading this information, because like I said, I want women to feel comfortable and mm-hmm. know that there's options out there
yes.
other than breast implants. And being natural is it just feels healthy, right? I feel healthy.
Yes. Lisa's talking to me. There you go.
So I haven't really gotten a chance to ask you about your story. And, you know, I don't know, you know, if you've already shared it here on the radio, but
we have, but a lot of times we have new people joining and stuff like that. So my story was more of I'm a plastic surgeon, scrub tech. And back in the 1990s, I got silicone breast implants. And the first set was, back then it was called McGann, which now Allergan owns McGann. And I was happy with them. I didn't notice anything. I will say this, looking back, which I didn't understand this part until, you know, once you get sick from them. I lost weight, and I was already a slender woman, but I lost a lot of weight. And I kept getting skinnier and skinnier. And, but I didn't look sickly. So I was very muscular because I worked out then. So I wouldn't say muscular. I'm sorry. I was very toned and fit. I was long and lean, but fit. And so I had nice muscles and curves, but not bulky, if that made sense. So I looked more like a, ballerina lean. Okay. So tight and toned. And then when the whole Dow Corning stuff was going on, they recommended that we get our implants exchanged to saline. So we took my implants out and put saline in, to which at the time we didn't know to remove a capsule. So they just opened up my capsule, took the old implant out, and then shoved a new one in, which turns out I thought I had smooth Mentor saline. And turns out after getting so sick, it was textured Mentor saline. And I started having almost immediately some experiences, again, never once correlated it to me switching my implants. And I was starting to break out and I had these strange headaches. It was just enough of a headache that it felt like somebody had like a bucket of water sitting on my head, and I can sometimes hear a little slosh, but it wasn't enough for me to feel like I had to take medicine all the time. It was just enough for me to go, gosh, I have this pressure on my head all the time. And they did MRIs, and of course my brain scans were clear. My breakouts, no doctor, no matter how much tetracycline and Cleocin T, they even put me on Accutane. Nothing cleared my breakups out. And again, I'm still staying skinny and fit at this time. And it just went on from there, just different things. All of a sudden I was allergic to tomatoes, watermelon, avocado. And I had latex allergy. And so we were kind of correlating. I guess latex allergy must be correlated to these weird food things all of a sudden. And if you think about it, those are all rubber plants and bananas. They're all rubber plant based. Then I had some miscarriages. And then after my sister died, so I mean, this went on from, I got my first set in 1991, and then they were exchanged in 1998 or 99. And then by the time 2010 came, my sister had just passed away. And by then I had a whole bunch of different things, and I just started to gain some weight, but I was able to lose it. And then, she died in June. And then by December, I guess, is when some strange symptoms came and they just got worse and worse from there. So that was 2010. December 2010 is when I'd say I really started noticing I was getting sick. Fatigue, chronic fatigue, couldn't really do much. My voice would go in and out periodically, and nothing major. And then by 2011, the summer, that's when all of a sudden I just packed on the pounds. Within a few short, 2 or 3 months, almost 60 pounds went on me just out of the blue. And we couldn't figure out what was going on. And I've had mammograms this whole entire time. They kept saying that everything was normal. I kept complaining of breast pain. I would have my left breast getting bigger than my right breast, significantly bigger. And then but all my mammos were fine. So because the radiologist said they were fine, we didn't investigate any further. And then we, 2011, 2012. Okay, so then I had a partial hysterectomy, then a full hysterectomy because symptoms moved to the opposite ovary once the bad ovary was gone. Moved to the other one, so they gave me a complete hysterectomy. I had to then get my gallbladder was doing something strange, and I don't have stones, but they needed my gallbladder out, but they couldn't do my gallbladder surgery because all of a sudden I was in hyperthyroidism, such a dangerous level of hyperthyroidism. They said if they put me to sleep, they'd kill me. So they were like, you need to ablate your thyroid. And they said I had Graves' disease. And I said, well, wait a minute. I'm in the medical field. Graves' disease doesn't add up to my symptoms. I'm gaining weight, not losing. And most people with Graves lose weight. And they said, well, there's like 3% people who gain weight. And I was like, oh. And so I took that as an answer, but I still didn't let them blade it. I waited. I mean, I fought with these doctors for months because in my heart of hearts, I knew that's not what was wrong with me. My husband's in the medical field as a scrub tech. So between him talking to doctors and nurses and all of them discussing me during OR time, I felt pressure, I guess. And I finally just was like, fine, ablate the thyroid. So they ablated the thyroid, to which it didn't die. It actually went back to normal. And I had a normal thyroid for about 4 months. And then it took a nosedive and went to severe hypo, dangerous, because nobody could figure out what was wrong with me again. And then I called my doctor back home because I was in Iowa visiting my in-laws. And he said, I bet you your thyroid finally died. He said, when do you come back? And we were flying back like the next day. And so he said, come see me immediately. And sure enough, I was like, should have been coma. And so they put me on thyroid medicine and they gradually increased it until I could feel at least more normal. And then, so between hormones, they basically destroyed my metabolism. They, after the thyroid was under control, they could put me to sleep, took out the gallbladder. Turns out nothing was wrong with my gallbladder. And, yeah, it just was this weird nightmare. Then Mayo Clinic, I got to the point where I couldn't walk or talk. And so that's 2012. And then in 2013, Mayo Clinic's looking at me going, you need a liver transplant. And I was just like, no, I'm done. Can't walk, can't talk. I'm shuffling. If I can move, some days I couldn't even move. I lived in my brain. My brain functioned like it does now. I can talk normal in my brain, but I couldn't to everybody else. I had no motor skills. And so I declined the liver transplant. And then in September of 2013, I got a phone call from an endocrinologist, and he said, you and your husband need to come here immediately. So we traveled to Pensacola, Florida, from Fort Walton Beach. And he said, when he walked in the room, this was his reaction. He goes, oh. And we were like, and he goes, you are Ann Zeigenhorn, right? And my husband corrects him, yes, Zeigenhorn. And he goes, okay. He goes, I was expecting to see a frail, brittle woman on her deathbed. And you were definitely not frail and brittle. No, I was like friggin' 260 pounds at my height, and I used to be 130 pounds. So I was like, okay. And then his response was, I'm just going to be blunt. According to your lab work, you should be in a coma or dead. And so within the next 2 weeks, you're probably going to hit a coma and die. So I suggest you go get your affairs in order. To which we were just floored. And then my I had apparently some interest in lab work because he says, oh, by the way, how much magnesium and potassium are you taking? And I gathered up enough strength to say, and it came out really weird because I could barely speak, but I was able to say 4 times the amount. And then he goes, and he goes, who told you to take that? And my husband kind of nudges me like, don't say it, you're going to be put in the loony bin. And I go, God, just plain as day. It was like, God. And he goes, well, that's probably what has saved your life. Your magnesium, potassium levels were high enough that you aren't in a coma. And so, you know, when you hear the word of God, listen, just definitely listen. And then he left. And so that night when I got home, I was like, I don't accept his answer. No, I'm still thinking and doing everything. He just doesn't know it. So I prayed and said, Lord, I've asked you for your protection as they removed organs from me, but now I need for you to show me what's wrong. And the next morning when I got up, I went to touch my breast and my implant just ruptured inside of me. I felt the water run all through me. And my husband called the radiologist and said, you know, can you get her in today for a mammogram? She's already scheduled Monday, but today's Friday. So we were told Thursday night I'm dying. Friday, my implant ruptured. I have a big aha moment, like, oh my God, this is what's doing it. This is what's killing me. And then we went Monday, and that technologist, the tech there, she said, I can confirm your rupture. Well, we saw the leak 2 years ago. And I was like, did she just say what I think she said? And there was another technician in the room. She goes, Maria, come here. And so she called her away, but then my brain, I was just like, I couldn't get out of there fast enough. It was like, hurry up, smush my boobs and let me go. And so, I said, I wrote on my whiteboard. I had a whiteboard. I had to write with this big, thick pen because I couldn't grip anything. And I just wrote, I want to see the radiologist. I've never seen my mammoths. So they took me down there on a wheelchair, and I went. And as soon as they opened the door, now I'm a hygienist and OR script tech, and I'm a hygienist who reads radiology. Why? Because I taught dental radiology to assistants. So I'm looking, and he's dictating, so I didn't want to interrupt. So I looked, and my mouth dropped. I was just like, oh my God, you can see something's clearly wrong with my breast implant 2 years ago. Why didn't they tell me? So my friend takes me home, and I have her take me over to my filing cabinet, and I open it up and I pull out my report, and it says normal. We think you have some calcifications. Other than that, it's a normal reading. Once I got an expert from the breast Dow Corning days to look at my mammograms, his comments were first film, no comment. Second film, no comment. Third film, he goes, okay, now I can make a comment. He said, that is something inside your implant. I couldn't tell from the first two. I had to see all 3 views before I could make a determination. So I had to say no comment. But now that I've seen all 3 views, I can definitively tell you that is not calcification on the outside of the implant. That is something inside your implant. And yes, it's indicative of mold. And I was just like, which we knew at that point that I had mold, because by the time I'd done all this research, I had enough knowledge, and I found Dr. Susan Cole, Monster Inside Me, and she had done reports on it, to which 3 people have been on Monsters Inside Me about their breast implants, and I'm the 3rd one because they did an interview with me as well. And but it's all about the manufacturer faulty valve and moldy implants. 85% of saline implants, according to Dr. Pierre Blais, he is equivalent of the FDA up in Canada. That's where he used to work prior to opening up his own implant lab to test implants, and that was his expertise. So he said 85% of Mentor implants had faulty valves, and mine definitively was a faulty valve because it allowed two-way flow. Implants were designed that when if something went wrong with the valve, it would collapse, and mine did. You can clearly see it's multiple films. You can see something spraying in or being sucked in when they smushed my breast, and then, or I guess upon the release of it. When they smush the breast, you see something spraying out. And then upon the release, when they take that next shot, you see stuff sucking in. And it's clear as day on my films. I have multiple years worth of showing that valve was definitely faulty. And one of the other reasons why you shouldn't get mammograms when you have breast implants. We have so many women talk about they had capsular contracture, they got smushed, and then all of a sudden their gel leaked because it was being smushed.
And that's what happened to me. I'm
sure
that yeah.
Faulty valve per se, though, because if you think of the dynamics of the saline implant, I mean, the body immediately forms biofilm around any medical device in the body, right? And this biofilm is where, I mean, Susan Kolb is the one that told me to get tested for mycoplasma. And the biofilm has all this bacteria, this fungi, and it wraps around. And then you have the body doing what the body does to protect itself, says this is a foreign invader. And so it starts building that skin-like tissue called a capsule around it, because we know from Dr. Dykman that the silicone breaks down and migrates, right? So it's trying to protect us, but it is encapsulating the biofilm all around the saline implant, which has a valve. And these microorganisms are living things. They work their way inside the valve. So, I mean, I hear faulty valve, but I hear a lot of things that I take with a grain of salt, just like when they look at our imaging and they say there's nothing. You know, I thought I had my breast implants out in 2008. And I got them out because I knew they caused my cancer then. And I walked around for 15 years saying I felt a mass in my chest. It was making me sick. The capsules had been left in, unfortunately. That was Dr. Colt as well. And in her defense, I almost bled out on the table. She had to pivot to save my life. But you're walking around saying you feel a mass in your chest. You're a cancer survivor. And it's right there, clear as day on the imaging. You know why nobody told me it was there? Because it's a normal finding, just like breast implants. I can say I feel a mass. They could see it. Dr. Khan took it out. It was almost 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. You know, this is huge in cancer world. So, I mean, yes, we can buy into the rhetoric, but the truth is that these devices, the system is not set up to help us. And the chemicals it releases is the reason that we're so sick. The chemicals in everything is that really the source of chronic illness. And I love that we're all faith-based, and I love that we all found our way to functional medicine to heal, because I do believe that's the way we heal from all these chronic illnesses caused environmentally, breast implants and more. So that's my 2 cents for what it's worth.
Absolutely. Tara, want to chime in?
What specifically do you want me to talk about?
Anything you want. This is it's a live show for a reason. We were trying to buy time earlier for you to hop on. So Cecily just said, Anne, why don't you tell us your story?
Thank you for your story, Anne. That stories are so powerful. And we share such commonalities. Terry, you have a powerful story. Talk about your healing and your journey a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I had mine placed probably around 2003. And then, so that was when I was about 23 years old. And then everything kind of hit the fan when I was around 30 years old. So about 7 years later. And it actually, I say I kind of like had the perfect trifecta, because I ended up getting flu shot and also Botox. And that's kind of, at the time, I didn't know why all my symptoms were coming up, but it was just so many different things. You know, I remember being at work and just going down on my knees, and I'm screaming and crying for someone to make the dizziness to stop, because it was so severe. You know, I've had multiple having to go into the ER for the dizziness. I would have muscle twitching from like head to toe, where I didn't have a fever. I wasn't cold. And, you know, they would work me up as if like I had an infection, but it wasn't. It was just like my body's just muscle twitching for 2 hours until eventually I would just like pass out, just because of like maybe the energy was just, you know, released. I needed to sleep it off. So then I was also just having like stroke-like symptoms, to where my gait was unsteady. I would have visual disturbances. I had a lot of kind of like Anne, like you're talking about the sensations in your head. I was having weird sensations in my head as well, where kind of felt like I don't know what a seizure feels like, but I say that it felt like I was having seizures, like buzzing, but I'm awake and alert. So that was actually really scary. I also had a lot of cardiac issues, where my heart would be 160. And
me too.
Again, like the doctors would work me up, and my blood pressure would be too low to give me any kind of medication, just giving me fluids. And it was self-limiting, because like the next day it'd be like 150, and then the next day down to like 140, and eventually, you know, come back to normal. But I would also get heart gripping sensations, where it would feel like my heart literally could not pump and I'm about to pass out. That was actually my last straw. I mean, like, obviously, like, I had all these symptoms. Doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. Had all the workups, like thousands of dollars in all the workups, the blood work, the CT scans, the MRIs, all the things. And it was just like you were mentioning, having that faith and just praying out to God. It was just like one step at a time, just finding little things that would help me to cope. And eventually, I mean, it did still take me probably another 7 years to figure out that it was actually like my breast implants, because I started off just like doing a timeline and realizing like, oh, my symptoms happened after I got this flu shot and after Botox. So now looking back, I can say, oh, it was actually like it was just like the biggest toxic storm that I could have put into my body all at once. So
how many of us spent forever like searching, trying to figure out, diagnosing ourselves with millions of things, right? That we didn't have the tools. Sorry, Tara.
Yeah.
It just makes me sad.
Went down the rabbit hole with the vaccines and all the things. So like I said, it still took about another 7 years of just trying to cope and figure things out. But eventually I was led to Nicole's group, and because somebody posted on Facebook, like they were having all these weird symptoms, and somebody said like, well, maybe it's your breast implants, down in the comments. And I'm like, what do you mean it's her breast implants? And I had saline, and I'm a nurse, so like you would think
the fake ones, right?
You know about breast implant illness, and no, it's not. It wasn't a thing. It's becoming more known now, obviously, which is amazing, that people are more aware. Even the medical community is starting to acknowledge that this is very real. So got my breast implants taken out, and it was hard. For me, I actually got a little worse because I feel like it just kind of like stirred the pot a little bit. So for about 6 months, I was actually worse. And then it just, I'm 5 years out. In September, I'll be 5 years. It's going to be my anniversary, 5-year anniversary. But I definitely feel now like I'm like 98% healed, and I feel better now than even like as a child. I felt I had a lot of issues even as a child. So done a lot of healing, holistic healing, just mentally, emotionally, obviously really focusing on detoxification and all those things. So it's been quite the journey over the last, 2 decades, but very well worth it.
Yes. Which leads us to the whole fact that we are a part of, I want to make sure we have enough time because we have 20 minutes left. So Hope for Healing. Lisa, tell us your vision for Hope for Healing with Cecily.
I just feel so blessed to have found y'all to help with this, because I know that when you figure out what this is and you figure out how to heal, you want to help other people, and we all share that. And so when Dr. Khan in 23 went in and said, oh my gosh, these capsules were left in you, the first thing I did was I said, I need to start a nonprofit. I don't know what we're going to do, but I knew functional medicine healed me. I knew I wanted to tell other women about it. And I knew unless someone were to fund research on these protocols, they'd never be mainstreamed. So, I have somewhat of a medical background. And so, that's how the idea was born. Now, it still took me a year to find Cecily. I just kind of spun my wheels. And so, Integrative Hope for Healing, our big audacious goal is to get an ICD code for BII, because until we have an ICD code for BII, doctors can send us away saying there is no such thing. They will not diagnose us. There is no protocol for care. But that's kind of a moot point to me, because I don't believe the answers are in Western medicine. I believe more and more that they're learning about functional and holistic healing. And I think as we have more Western medicine doctors doing that we're going to see a lot more healing of chronic illnesses. But, when I met Cecily and heard her beautiful story, being in a wheelchair 7 years, and getting her functional medicine license in a wheelchair. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I couldn't even think. Like, I just wanted to lay in bed and cry. So Cecily, you're an amazing, inspirational person.
Yes, she
But
is.
so the thought was born, what do we do, and what can we do different, because there's hundreds and there's millions of women on these private Facebook groups, Instagram. I mean, these groups are there, but unless you're already afflicted, you don't even look. You
Right.
don't
That's
know.
true.
The public is not being told. So
Yeah.
Cecily was research minded like me, and we started thinking, how can we fund research? And I have this really intense story and a cover up about cancer, and that was caused by my breast implants. And if I ever get to leverage that into funding for this, that's ultimately the goal. But
Yeah.
Integrative Hope for Healing was born so we can first help women with BII and do something about that, and then legitimize how we healed and fund money for research if we ever are blessed by God to be able to do that. Cecily, thoughts? What would you like to add to the Hope for Healing initiative?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, you said it very beautifully, Lisa. And every time I think about your story and Anne's story and Tara's story and all these women that we meet, it's like, what can we do? What can we do to make the most impact to help women who are suffering with breast implant illness or don't even know? And just getting a voice out there, right? That's first of all, speaking, talking about it. So those that are watching, please talk about this.
Yes.
You know, connect with other people. If you know somebody that has breast implants, please, send them to Anne's show or us on Facebook. We'd be very happy to talk to anybody. But as far as Integrative Hope for Healing, I mean, we've got big plans. Lisa has such a vision. And I mean, I'm not going to go into it deep unless, Lisa wants me to, but
hey, I dream big. Say what you want.
I mean, we would love to have an Integrative Hope house.
Yes.
To
a
have
home for healing.
Yeah, a home for healing for women to come to be able to have the best integrative care and be able to get the help, because it took me a year before I could walk normally again after taking my implants out. And I was using all the functional medicine knowledge that I had to heal myself and to get better. And it was hard. It was a hard year. And I remember thinking to myself, as a woman of faith, dear God, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? Why did I do this? And I questioned it for so many times during that year. But continuing that path, and I wish I could have had somebody there to support me emotionally, mentally, physically there, saying, hey, I've been through this. I want, I'm here to help you. We're here to give our arms, wrap our arms around you, that it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. And I think that is the goal of Integrative Hope for Healing, is to provide that care, provide that beautiful arms around you. You're going to get better. Hang in there.
That is so well said. I mean, the kind of healing, functional medicine healing, is mind, body, and soul. I use that in my writing. I use it in my daily life, right? Because, Tara's and Cecily now learning and so well versed on the mind and the power of that. But, all the modalities, if we use what God put here for us naturally, then I believe that has an enormous power to heal. And I've really been pondering light lately. I sent you all that article on light itself and the healing power of it. And I just think everything that we do naturally, even the supplements, are usually grown. And so, if you really want to geek me out on quantum physics and all, there is a hypothesis that essentially we're made of light. And if you look at the atom of the electrons that go around the nucleus, they emit these biophotons, light, as they shift. And they're doing research on cancer where the cancer cells aren't emitting the same light, unstable light. So, I think that that applies to supplements. I think it applies to the energy healing. If we're using infrared and red lights to put the light in our body and heal us externally, what about the light already inside us? Because our DNA emits biophotons. The neurons in our body have the same processes as the electrons around the atoms. They're emitting biophotons. And so, you know, that brings us to the patches. And I want to say that isn't the only modality of healing, but there's an argument that photosynthesis put into the organic food. And for anyone that watches my little video clips, you know, I'm all about take the chemicals out, put only organic juice, but live food in your body. And the sunlight, when you grow plants naturally, the sunlight through photosynthesis is stored in the plant. And when we eat and digest organically grown food, it breaks the electrons in those atoms are broken down in the digestive process. We're essentially eating life. Like this is what our body runs on.
That's right.
At the moment of conception, when the egg and the sperm unite, there's a first burst of biophoton light. So is it life itself? Some say mass is light. You know, I don't know. I could go on, but I'll shut up now.
Well, no, you have to have
a
a conversation with David Schmidt because this is his thesis behind it. So this is how he made the patches, and this is how he's made in the water. And the water's going to, so the X2O is coming out, and it is light and frequency infused water. It's living water. He got the patents like that. Why? There's nothing else on the market like it. And so you're literally able to drink the light and energize the body. And then when you have the patch on, it's using your own body heat and your infrared light to bounce back to create your GHK copper peptides, which in turn, according to the patents and all the studies, double blind studies as well as peer reviewed, shows that that's the GHK copper peptide from the X39 is what wakes up your own dormant stem cells. And then the X49 has the AHK, and then all the other patches have theirs. So there's a carnosine, has a dipeptide in it, glutathione. Your liver makes glutathione. There's nothing in the patch. It's a pattern reflecting your light and heat, and it turns the liver back on to produce more glutathione naturally. And you don't produce it while you wear the patch. It produces it for 24 hours, 300%. So, I mean, all this is double-blind studies and peer-reviewed, and it's there. And so what you were saying, Lisa, is 100% spot on. And I think I can't wait for you to meet David because you two, your minds
to meet David
in sync.
Well, and I told you I will drive anywhere in the DFW Metroplex to try this water because, I mean, I think everything we've done somewhat ties back into this. You know, I know, Tara, I've tried the products you use, but the supplements and the greens, that's essentially capturing the light too. The things, the juicing that I do, the Gerson protocol, these are all along the same philosophy. And there's not any one way.
No.
I've seen women like us heal. Like the story Tara tells, oh my gosh, the pictures of your rosacea and how the pure cured that, Tara. And Cecily is an expert in all supplements and the microbiome, and all of these pieces fit together, right? This is just, in my book, this is one more tool in the belt.
Absolutely.
That we can use. I personally have 4 on right now because now that I've gotten all the yuck out of my body, I have migrated silicone causing all these adhesions. It is breaking up my adhesions, and I can't explain it, but I just lean into it, right?
Yeah.
So Cecily.
Well, and you were off earlier, and so I asked Cecily, I said, Cecily, I know that you had sensory issues before, so Cecily, I'll let you repeat what you had told me about the patch.
Yeah. Sure, of course. So so instead of putting it directly on my skin, you put it on the clothes. And so I tried it around my belly button, which is one of the areas that they tell you to put it. And I didn't have any problems. So great. Yeah. For people that are sensitive, you know, that it is a great, because there are people, I work with a lot of clients that have sensitivities. And so being able to have an option for them, I think is wonderful.
Well,
Yes.
I was thinking on your reaction because so many of us have neural issues. And I believe that the migrated silicone travels in our blood vessels and attaches to our nerves. We know it's in our organs, right? But the neurons emit the biophotons. So if you were putting it on your spine, you already had the neural issues. It may have just supercharged somehow. I don't know. But I mean, I don't have all the answers. And I just find even the doctor that removed my rib for thoracic outlet, which I really never had, it was the mass that they wouldn't admit compressing the blood flow to my arms, but I won't go there. But even he said there's so much we don't know about how the nerves and the blood vessels interact in the body. But, you know, the light and the patches feed into the biophoton and the messages travel along the nerves. The biophotons is how our cells communicate. So I don't know. There's something there. I could hypothesize more, but Tara, we got to get you to try these.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. Yes, yes. Just remember, by the time you're 35, you have 50%, up to 60% dormant stem cells. They're just sleeping. They're not dead, they're just dormant. By the time you're 55 to 65, you're looking at 18 to 10% functioning. The rest are asleep. When you put the patch on, immediately 30 to 33% of those stem cells wake up instantaneously. And that means that you're able to have your nutrition work better. Your exercise does better. Your everything that you're doing, eating, drinking, it is better. Doesn't interfere with medicine because, again, there's nothing in the patch. But your medicines, you have to keep taking medicines to keep the symptom down. When this patch is on you for about a year to a year and a half, and you're, putting fresh ones on every day, something happens and your cells turn over. And it's in the studies and the patents. So I'm not speaking out of turn. I'm speaking based off of the patents and the studies. Again, we're not telling anybody how to heal. This is for entertainment purposes only. But we want you to do the research. We have the patents and the studies available. And they in turn state that once the stem cell is repaired, it's repaired. So if you were able to get off of, say, blood pressure medicine, that was because you had elevated levels of blood that caused pressure. If that were the case for you and you were on medication for it, known as high blood pressure medication, and the doctor's like, wow, you don't have to take this anymore. What are you doing different? And you tell them about the patches and you show them the research. Do you think that if you stopped wearing the patches, all of a sudden you're going to have high blood pressure the next day? No, once it's repaired, it's repaired. But yet, if you miss your blood pressure medicine, do you have high blood pressure if you don't take it? Yeah, because it's just treating a symptom. The patches go deeper than that.
Well, and I think that it's cumulative. Like everything we do contributes. I mean, I started with the Gerson juicing protocol and taking these organic fruits and vegetables, pushing the pulp out, drinking it while they were still live with all the enzymes. So the more tools in our belt, the better.
Yep, absolutely.
Tara, Cecily, if you could give advice to anybody struggling with BII or chronic illness, in addition to the things we've discussed, what tool in your tool belt would you guys recommend for healing? What advice would you give?
Well, for me, being a holistic coach, just because I found that was the best route for myself, was to address all the things. Like, you're not just treating the physical body, because there are other factors. Like I say, it's never just one thing that makes us sick. Yes, even with the breast implants, there's so many different reasons why we get sick, and we have like such a variety of symptoms, and it just affects everyone differently. But you've really got to be concerned about like the thoughts you're having. Your mindset, that's very important. Your emotional well-being. You cannot heal in an environment where you are emotionally starved or, just feeling like you just don't have support. So it really is a holistic approach to really achieve the greatest results.
Right.
Like, absolutely, like, yes, we are subjected to a lot of toxins, but I also say toxins are also our thoughts. And, even if we are detached from, spirit, from God, and that can also make us feel like we are calling or our purpose, and that can also have an effect on our health, believe it or not. So
Absolutely.
definitely.
Okay, I'm gonna add one little thing because I'm on to the biophotons, right? Okay, I read that our thoughts, our intentions, if we have intentional thought, it emits biophotons and light. So our thoughts are energy forces too. Had to throw that in.
100%.
Yes.
I love that you added the faith and the thought component because it is mind, body, soul, right?
Yeah.
Cecily, what would be your tip on healing from BII or chronic illness in addition to what we've talked about?
Yeah, I love what Tara said. I love what you all have said because it's so true. You have to do mind, body, soul healing. But from a practitioner, a holistic health practitioner point of view, I have to be honest. I've had other clients and ladies, women that I've worked with, that they've tried to do it on their own, and they feel they struggle, right? They struggle. So if you connect with somebody who, like Tara or myself or Anne, that knows, that's been through it, and you connect with somebody who does know the healing process, and that, I think that is probably the best advice, because I get women that have tried it and they are sick for a year, 2 years, and they just can't get better. And so connecting with somebody who does understand that mind, body, soul healing, I think would be the best advice.
I like that, Cecily. There are tests. I mean, C-reactive protein that can test for the inflammation? The tests that like you would do, Cecily, if you had a client come to you, aren't things that our regular PCP will always do. I mean, what we get with functional medicine is different than what we get in Western medicine, but it's a guideline. And if you're shooting in the dark, there's so many buzzwords and supplements and ideas out there that you can't really do it on your own. I agree, Cecily.
Yeah, exactly. And not to say doctors have their specialty. They have their specialized medicine, which is, we need doctors. I work with doctors. They're wonderful.
Right.
But the functional medicine side of it, that is a totally separate thing that doctors are not usually trained on.
Right.
They don't have that knowledge. And so being able to work with both, that's why I love Integrative Hope for Healing, because it marries the medical and the functional medicine.
Right. Healing the body at the base level is great for chronic illness. And acute care, we need Western medicine for a lot of that.
Yeah.
Ladies, I appreciate you all coming on. Our time is up. And I believe this will be a continuation. And so let's plan to have you back on, maybe even a monthly thing, where we can just talk about it and get some more support. And I know that Dr. Chandler is going to come on and talk about it with us sometime as well. So we'll make that a plan. Maybe we can have all of us on the panel again with him. And Doc G, we appreciate you and your hosting. Thank you very, very much. And tune in every week, guys, 6 o'clock this time, and we'll let you know when the next one is with Integrative Hope for Healing. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you, ladies. Let me just add to that. My wife wants to talk to everybody here, so I'll talk to Tara, Cecily, and Lisa, because she's got a lot of issues. Thank you, guys.
Send her along. Anne's got her contact.
I get to talk to her all.
Bye, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.